Some people are hella bearish. Some people are hella bullish. I have my own opinions as to who's right or wrong, but let's see what Virtual Bacon has to say here. This came out the 14th.
There's no question in my mind that this is all season. Look at the downtrend on Bitcoin dominance on the weekly. It doesn't get clearer than this. I mean, we're way past the number of weeks that the Trump altcoin rally has brought. And in terms of moving average, we're way below the 50-week SMA. And in terms of trend, we are in a weekly downtrend. This is way more convincing here than the Trump rally and way more convincing than anything over the last 2.5 years. So I don't know what kind of thing you're smoking. If you're still not looking at altcoins, this is the time to be looking at altcoins. Don't let PTSD like blind you. Just look at the facts. Look at what the chart is telling us. And Bitcoin dominance is downtrending on weekly. So that's it. Want to focus heavily on altcoins. My portfolio right now is like 20% Bitcoin only and 80% in altcoins. I am still targeting large cap altcoins first before going to mid caps and low caps. I'm taking the time there, but I don't think the risk in large cap altcoins is that high anymore at this point. So Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Cardano, BNB, Doge, whatever. These are all really good picks right now. Just keep holding them.
Well, far be it from me to gainsay anyone who says that Cardano is a great pick. But this is a classic example of what it is when investors are going out the risk curve. This idea of, hey, what is it like when the cycle breeds this sort of mentality where people are like, hey, there was enough for me to be long Bitcoin, and now I want to take more risk. I'm seeing Bitcoin dominance go down. This is an indicator that I want to pay attention to, and now I'm willing to take on more risk. He's saying that he's 80% altcoins, 20% Bitcoin. This is not euphoria, right? This is starting out into the risk curve. And what I find interesting here is the indicators that people decide to pay attention to. There's quite a number of things you can pay attention to, and even Virtual Bacon has a whole list of indicators that he's talked about on his charts, different relationships, different sort of data that he follows. But we're about to see in a second Gareth Soloway, famous for calling near the top of Bitcoin last time, and how far Bitcoin could go down to. He has a very different point of view. So let's just go ahead and take a look at that before we talk about it.
So I do think, I can't tell you where it's going to be in 10, 15 years from now, but after a correction that I do think we are close to, and I will go on record and say I do think Bitcoin's going back to at least $75,000 a coin, probably by early 2026. But I do think at some point it goes a lot higher, and then we'll just have to see how the whole world-ending type scenario comes into play with it. But I do think that, again, society is craving an alternative to fiat currencies, and Bitcoin is that answer for now, along with gold, and people are willing to accept it. And as long as people accept it and can access it freely, then that still has a place in the future.
All right, so he sees potential for Bitcoin by Q1 2026 to drop to 75K. So this sort of like... I love comparing this with the Virtual Bacon and with the different data that I'm seeing, because it's like, okay, well, how long is this bull market going to last? Like, how much time do we actually have left? For my sake, if you've been paying attention to Sunday Fuel, you'll see I can make the bull case or the bear case. I was always expecting to see Bitcoin top around October 2025. But then I'm seeing signs that maybe it might not. Maybe we might actually get that blow off top. And I laid it out where I talked about this idea that if we make it past September, October, we get into November and we haven't had a big crash because of a number of different catalysts that can happen, then I would expect a run up all the way to March of next year, which is the end of Q1, beginning of Q2.
So you said that if it signals the end of the bull market, the end of the cycle, if Bitcoin drops 50%. Wouldn't that bring it to 75,000?
Right. But he's saying 75,000 by Q1 2026. But Q1 2026 could be January, could be March.
Right. Well, can't it just go up, hit all-time highs, and then crash down?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, if Bitcoin, I was taking a look at this the other day because I'm very annoyed that my indicator is that Bitcoin has to drop 50% before I know that the bull market is over. It's sort of like, well, why even play the later half of the game if you're going to lose half your profit? Look, we have an idea of where Bitcoin will fall to. Our wave indicator doesn't necessarily tell us how high Bitcoin can get, but it does let us know to where Bitcoin can fall at the low of the cycle. In 2019, this was here at around 3,000, 4,000 at the in December 2018. The low end of the wave, again here during the COVID crisis. Here the drop in 2022, and then next up, I'm expecting right now if Bitcoin were to give up the ghost to fall to around 49,000, 50,000 here. Okay. However, like I said, I don't like this idea. You have to wait for 50% drawdown. So I go, hey, what price would Bitcoin need to get to in order for it to fall the 77 to 85% to get to $49,000? And that would be around $212,000. So I'm starting to look at, hey, what price level could this even get to? So I go, well, if we have about a 77 to 86% drop every single time in all the different cycles, then for it to get to 50,000, Bitcoin would have to rise first 212,000 and then drop to that level. So the question is, can Bitcoin go from $115,000 now to 212,000 by March before it starts dropping? Because it drops for about 365 days to 400 days before it gets to the low, and then it peaks from over there. All right. So Virtual Bacon and Gareth Soloway could be right.
Right.
We could get to 50 to 75,000 on Bitcoin, because $75,000 on Bitcoin would just be a 30% drop or 33% drop from here. And Bitcoin regularly has 33% drops in bull runs. In fact, 33% is the Jesus number of the number of times that it falls. It falls and then rises on the third day, sort of thing. And so, or I guess maybe make it more modern. It loses its job as CEO of OpenAI and then regains it. Then calling for 75 is not like crazy for it to happen. But if it only went to 75 and then stopped there and then go much lower, I would say we're still in the bull market.
Right.
So he's sort of seeing potential for a downside. So we'll see. We'll see what happens September, October. That's the first period I'm looking of nervousness that I have, and then again in let's call it February, March, April. Really, March is the nervous period. What I found interesting though is that the idea of, on one hand, you have the retail trader that's like, "Hey, I'm all in, bruh. Bull market to the moon. What are you waiting for?" And then you have the other guy who's like, "Hey, I've been through this before. Let's be careful. Downside is always on the table." Both of them have the same thing in common. You need reliable indicators. All right? That means you have to pay attention to those indicators regularly to be able to tell when they said something differently. Right? Virtual Bacon's been taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance, and he sees a drop week over week, and he goes, "Hey, this is enough for me to say I'm going to go in." But if he just woke up today and decided today I'm going to take a look at the Bitcoin dominance, like a lot of people do, I saw it on Twitter, so today I'm going to pay attention to it, you end up in you don't know what to pay attention to, because whatever seems the most convincing to you at the time is a thing you're gonna decide on. So that's why I'm very happy with our indicator set, and why I offer it for free so people can try it out for themselves. All right, that's it. I wanted to point those two things out. Hopefully we can talk to Gareth Soloway or Virtual Bacon. I'd love to get them as an interview on Daily Bread because, well, frankly, I think I'm the only interviewer who could really understand where they're coming from. Who could really speak to them on their level. All right, that's it. Talk to you guys later.